Hi, it's Michael Miller here with Live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is Lisa. Tell everybody how to pronounce your last name so we get it right.
Bonich.
Bonich. Okay. People want to know, why do you want to serve the citizens of South Miami as a commissioner?
That one's actually easier and harder to answer than one would imagine. The easy part, I got tired of seeing people spend my money in a way that doesn't align with my values or what I would consider most people's values. And so I say the only way to control or try to have an influence on any of that is to get involved. And this is me getting involved. The hard part of that is, of course, like everybody's real keen on not spending their money in crazy ways. But what you don't see doesn't hurt you. And I didn't see it for a long time.
So you served on the planning board, and then you became chair, and you recently retired from that position. There's a new chair.
Yes.
So what are some things you did as a member of the planning board of the city of South Miami?
You know, I was very lucky because the planning board, when I came into it, was very well organized and a group that actually does get along well together. So more than doing anything in particular, I think we all have a similar goal or direction. Mind you, not identical because that's never the case. But we've been able to move forward development that makes sense for the city. You know, I was on the tail end of the property across the street from Casa Cuba and seeing that move forward. And then now we've just passed through the property across the street from City Hall, which will be a mixed use retail and apartments. So when I look at, hey, what have we really accomplished? We've managed to push through things that, while they are development, are common sense. They're things that fit the area where they're going.
So this is an advisory board, and you make a recommendation, you forward it on to the city commission, correct?
Yes.
Do people come? Does the public? Does the public come and sit in there and participate at all in those meetings?
They do. As a matter of fact, the property on US 1 and 62nd, owned by Kimco, they had something up before the planning board, and we had a lot of residents show up for that who wanted to voice their opinion about what they thought was going to happen there.
So we know lots of times people say no, all right, but are there people that object and they register their objection or opinion? Are there people that show up in support of projects?
Yes, we actually had a lot of support. There is a preschool just past 62nd on Sunset. They wanted to take over the building next door to them and do something in that parking lot to ease traffic. And they had a lot of support. As a matter of fact, the majority of the neighbors in that area had written letters. Some of them came. So we've seen, in my time, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So it must be difficult to believe in a project. You say, this thing is good for the community, all right? At the beginning, as it's being built, maybe it's going to be a little issue, but after a while, you believe it's going to be good. Then people come and state their opinion, and when they're totally against it, and there's a half a dozen or 10 of them, or the chair says, how many people here are against it? A whole bunch of people raise their hand. How do you process that?
Well, you know, for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else on the board, but for me, I look at what kind of, permit or permissions or building are they trying to put there? Is it in line with what is going on in general in the city? So then I kind of take the step. Does it fit the city? Does it fit the area? Why are the residents upset or supporting it? And then say, okay, in the long run, what's that going to mean for the city?
So we know that Miami-Dade County is in the top in the country in adding new housing units. Third or fourth in the country, which is amazing. They're anticipating another 19,000 units in some relatively short period of time. And that requires space, requires height, requires, in a lot of cases, parking. And so you got all those issues. And traffic. And it's an issue. It doesn't matter where you are. People, like what they have, all right, or move and don't want new stuff. So when it comes to traffic, and it's people are driving through a neighborhood, City of South Miami has done some things to try to slow it down. Traffic circles, traffic humps, no left turn, no right turns, especially back here through Cocoa Plum and other parts of the city. What do you think the city should do to manage the traffic through the neighborhoods?
Well, I think that's kind of like a pie in the sky answer. I'll give you a pie in the sky answer, actually. you should think, well, if you close this one and move this one around, then the flow will be better. I've learned in my time on the planning board, the traffic study will say whatever you want it to say, right? There's 60% traffic still left. When I heard that US 1 had the ability to carry X amount percentage more cars, and I said, where? On top of each other? As a city, we're growing up, but the streets aren't moving and they're not growing. And so when you think about traffic calming in neighborhoods, you kind of gonna get what you get. And we're doing the best that we can with circles and speed bumps. As a matter of fact, there's a letter gone out to the neighbors on my street, coincidentally, for a speed bump. And so they're trying to catch up. But I think South Miami, just like the rest of the city and the county, are worrying about traffic that we're seeing today instead of looking for traffic that's coming in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem.
So one of the terms that I hear, mobility options, I hear that all the time now. I'm not quite sure what that entails, but there's probably some public transportation. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's above ground, maybe it's rail or underground. The county is looking at some underground things. But South Miami in itself is a relatively small area.
Yep.
And fortunately or unfortunately, we got some pretty busy streets. Sunset Drive, which is DOT rates that as a very poor street mm-hmm. as far as being able to handle it anymore. 57th Avenue. I avoid that whenever possible, except for Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. It's perfect then, all right? Yep. Over at the shops of Sunset, whatever it's called now.
Yep. The corner of Sunset and 57th.
Right. So that's been in development for 20 years. And it's never really made it, all right? But the current owner looks like he bought it at a real bargain.
He
right?
sure did.
Considering was at the bottom when he bought it, and now the real estate market is really hot. Whatever winds up going there is going to generate people walking around. It's going to be good for the neighborhood, going to be good for business. It's going to be good for a core for people to go and be entertained, much like Dayland used to be.
Of course.
All right. So I hope when this all gets done that there's a place where we can go and be entertained and still stay in the city of South Miami. It had been approved for some apartments in a hotel. Looks like the developer is going to go back at some point and try to do something. I just hope it's sooner than later.
Me
right?
too.
And we look at the Metro Rail. All right, I'm not sure who takes it. A lot of people take it. All right, but the county has now said the county spent $100 million, the state $100 million, the feds another $100 million to create mobility options on the former busway down south on
yes.
US 1.
Over to Homestead.
Right. Homestead and South Dade has been left out of the transportation issue for years because they complained less or they didn't have the pull.
Yep. Right? Or they didn't have as many people originally when all these plans were being made, which goes back to their planning today for something that happened yesterday, not something that's going to happen.
Yes. So let's look at what you think the residents want, all right, including, how to deal with cars and type of businesses and whether they're medical offices or retail offices. What do the people want, people that you've spoken to?
It's interesting because I've run the gamut. I have people who say they don't want one more inch of development in the city because they want to be able to ride their bike or walk everywhere. I'm an anomaly. I walk, I bike, I scooter, I drive. So I see the city in every kind of transportation. The only thing I don't do is take the bus. And so I've talked to a lot of residents who are saying, hey, can we consider golf carts? And I see some golf carts in the city and I go, okay, so how would we make it more user-friendly for a golf cart? Bikes, we've tried in different areas, but one of my friends got literally run off the road on her bike not too long ago, so I don't think we're winning there. But, we've got residents from I don't want to do a thing to, boy, I wish we could, fly through here. And so when we're looking at how we move around, I think we need a little bit more forward thinking in the bike and the scooter, simply because the bike and the scooter, when you're trying to avoid traffic, might be the way to go.
So when we look to the future, sometimes some of us can see out 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. There's other people that can look out 20 and 30 years. We got this guy, he developed cars, and he sent a rocket ship around and circling around the globe. And at the time, who's that crazy guy? Well, the guy changed the world, right? And his brain is different being able to see that. All right.
Absolutely.
And when we look to, I don't know what year it was when we went to the moon many years ago. It's like, wow, we're still amazed by that. So often that we're sort of stuck where we are, and we can see down at the end of the street. But the reality is, Miami is going to continue to grow.
But
South Miami,
people love their cars here.
yes.
People are very resistant to let go of their cars.
So down on 73rd Street, there's Casa Cuba, Winn-Dixie. There's these city parking garage with the
Mhm.
retail stores. City took over the top part for the cars, and I think what would cause me to take my truck into that parking lot and drive up to whatever floor I would need to and deal with the parking, which I can't stand tight parking, but that's why I park far away. What would it take me to do that? I don't know. All right. I would rather park far away and find a spot like behind Winn-Dixie if I get a thing there than go up in that garage.
But let me tell you, you know what I learned? It costs half as much to park in the garage as it does on the street. I don't know about you, but that's a motivator for me.
So, and you bring up a very good point. So the city raised the parking. I think it's fine. On the street right now, it's $3 instead of $1.50. I had zero problem with that. All right. Well, what I know is the valet over at Casa Cuba is now going to cost more.
Yep.
So the question is a couple things. One, what's going to help people decide to consider moving their cars up there, and what the city's going to do to help motivate people to take them off the street, to put them up there where they can, on the most floors, be in the shade instead of in the sun as well.
I think there's two things. Number one, as I go around knocking on doors, I'm talking to people about that garage in particular, because when I realized they cost me half as much to park in the garage, I haven't parked on the street since then.
Is that right?
I don't. I'm like, I'd rather take 2 extra minutes because you're charging me for an hour of parking, whether I'm there for 15 minutes or an hour. And it pains me to pay $3 and something to park for 15 minutes, where I could take an extra 5 minutes walking or driving up and down.
Because they charge per 15 minutes
They
of the
charge
garage.
per hour.
Okay, but the meter.
Exactly.
But what about in the parking garage?
And it's all by the hour. So I'm like, if I'm going to pay $1 and change, it doesn't hurt me as much to pay $1 and change for 15 minutes or half an hour as it does $3 and something.
So I think that's part of a good marketing program.
Absolutely.
Right? Say, hey, listen, store owners, this is what it's going to cost you. When you stop in our store, it's going to cost you $3, all right, for your 10 minutes.
Yep.
All right?
And you know, something else that could happen, which somebody's going to kill me when I say this. I don't know who
Get ready, guys.
I don't know who this elusive person is, but I'm like, why wouldn't we just get rid of the street parking and do something with it? You know, the city of Coral Gables on Miracle Mile did something really cool. I'm not saying get rid of all of it, but get rid of some of it. Maybe. I don't know.
And certainly that's part of what makes people change what they do.
Yep.
Right? Which is the parking garage for me with my truck is too hard for me to maneuver. Right?
What
And
kind of
so-
truck do you drive?
No, I'm just not good at it. Right? So there's a physical barrier for me. And to your point as well, if there's no place to park out on the street and you want to go there, you're going to find a place to do that.
Yeah.
Right? The parking garage has been 10 years, I think, maybe
Something
15.
like that.
All right. I think Horace Fallu was on the
Yes,
commission.
he was.
I think he was mayor back then. All right. And so point was that all these years, it never got as far as like enough publicity to help move people.
Yep.
Now,
But
when
it's changing. As a matter of fact, I was there earlier. I was there today, and I was there either yesterday, or day before yesterday, and both times I had to park already on the second
Well,
floor.
good.
So
That's terrific.
it's starting to gain a little traction.
good. And we know the Winn-Dixie property, it's going to be apartments there or condos, and there'll be some shopping, I suppose, or
There's
office on the one.
there's a grocery store on the first floor. It's going to maintain the grocery store.
And when people start walking on the streets, it might help the city make a decision to change how the parking is when we have a lot of people walking.
Yep.
Right. 30 years ago, Victor Dover and group came up with this crazy idea to widen the sidewalks, make the streets narrow, and let restaurants have tables out there.
Mhm.
Back then, it was like a crazy idea. Now it's like, of course you do it.
Exactly. Why
Right.
wouldn't you?
Right? So, and I think that's part of what we need to do is look to the future and say how wonderful it is. And the city made it work. All right. The businesses there go on Saturday and Sunday, and the place is filled. They have more outside than they do inside.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different feel. So have you seen the drawings for the Winn-Dixie project?
I have.
Right. So where are people going to, how are the people going to get into the property and where do they park?
If I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly, is where the loading bays are
Yes,
now?
absolutely.
I believe that's where they go in and out.
That's where I park. Right.
Oh, there you go. So
That's
they're
perfect.
they're axing your parking.
So, and that'll be wonderful. And the businesses that are there will have so much more exposure. How many
Absolutely.
units will
Well,
there
it's
be?
9 stories. So, if we had to guess, I don't know, 100 units.
So
I don't remember,
Two
but
to
there's
500 people in that range.
It's enough people that it should make it, should make a difference.
Yes.
But stuff in that downtown area to make it more appealing.
Years ago, Gene Flynn, who was mayor of Palmetto Bay, I invited him up. I go, Gene, come on, I want to show you South Miami. And he had been there. We sort of laughed at each other. I'd take him around, and it was wonderful to show him the different things that were there on the ground, walking around, as compared to Palmetto Bay, which had almost nothing. I said, Palmetto Bay might be able to have some of those things. So South Miami has the foundation for providing safe entertainment and dealing with managing traffic. You're not going to get rid of it, but so everybody understands, yes, this is what's going to happen during rush hour when the people are there.
There's traffic.
Yes. And I think that's.
And you know what? Whoever thinks they're going to go down a street in Miami and not encounter traffic either doesn't live here, hasn't driven for a very long time, or they shouldn't be driving a car.
For years, City of South Miami did not grow at all. Actually, at some points, they had less people. But in the past 2 years, we have recently built the Metro Rail where the students are living there, right? And it's wonderful. They made the building beautiful. I see kids walking up and down the street. Next door is going to go some more apartments.
Yes.
The Winn-Dixie property, the Bank United, the city school board decided to tear down the old Lee Park over there.
I know.
Yes.
That is super clever.
Yes, I would say that's going to be for employees and or teachers, and which is going to really help revitalize 62nd Avenue where we are. Right.
Yep.
And then the next thing is the county is putting up the new buildings for related.
I love that project. I love it.
What do you like?
I like that they're taking an area, they're beautifying what's there, and there's something for everyone. The city of South Miami is in a very big city, but I say this all the time, and people are like, oh, I'm like, if you want people of every type to be able to work in your city, they have to have a place to live. And so I think it's super clever that that's kind of not a mixed use, but a mixed income property. You've got everything from the residents that are there now to workforce housing to regular housing. And so you hit everything the city needs.
So 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, there was a school that said, we want to open up in some of the worst part of South Miami.
Somerset Somi?
Yes.
Is it them? My kids are Somi homies.
Yes. And you go, wow, these people really have vision to be able to do that. Because that's really the way it works, all right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to move into the neighborhood unless you got a lot of money if it's really magnificent.
You got to be the one who gets there early.
Yes. And then the eye doctors that are over there, what a magnificent move. They moved from Sunset and US 1 and over there. The city went ahead and put in a pool across the street. So all that's sort of coalescing right now.
Yep.
And it's really magnificent. And we will have a lot more people that are living here of all different persuasions. Everything that God has to offer us is going to be here in South Miami. A whole lot different than in the 70s, 80s, 90s, all right?
Absolutely.
In a wide range. And by the way, Marco Drugs is going to open within a month.
I know, that was one of the projects that came before the planning board.
How exciting is that?
It's great. And then if you add to that, the building and zoning did the changes to the very small lots that were unconforming so that people can build on them.
Yes.
And so you've got all of this movement happening in that one area. And I think some people view it as a plus and some other people view it as a minus, right? People who don't want anything to change see it as a negative. But overall, it's pretty amazing what's happening there.
Yeah. So we, as consumers of the world, we want to look at attractive things, all right? We want to see that they're functional and have a good time with it. And whatever group decided years ago to start putting in the calming circles, I think that was great. It said, here's some special attention. There's something special that's going on there. The city has made Donnie Fasel Park into something additional.
I
right?
love that park.
And it's like, wow. Now, tell us about what's going on at South Miami Park, which is off of 57th Avenue and
45th.
45th Street.
Yep. It's funny. My children went to elementary school.
Oh, hello.
There you go. You talk and it answered. My children went to David Fairchild Elementary. So I saw
Which is
it.
on the property.
It's
there.
right. Exactly. It's adjacent. And so I saw it go from having the little concession or bathroom area in the pool to all of it disappearing. And so in that area, they're revitalizing that whole park. And there's been some back and forth, whoever's paying attention to the commission meetings, about what they're going to do with the grass, how they're going to develop that area. But it's definitely getting a major facelift, I think in phases, but it's happening.
And we know that took a long time, because things in government do take a long time. Just like it took the city 40 years after first approved putting in a swimming pool. All right. It took 40 years. All right. But I see things are happening a little bit quicker now. And it gets cumulative, because people say, oh, it's not so bad. Hey, that's very nice. All right. And so we see that. Now, let's talk about some of the other boards that people could volunteer for the cities. Tell us about some of those boards.
There's the Environmental Review Board, ERPB. You've got the people who do all of the finance board stuff. So I think there's a little bit of something for everyone. You've got the historical group, and I believe they're merged in with the ERPB. I'm not sure. So you've got the planning board, you've got the finance board, you've got the ERPB, you've got this group, and I don't know if they're part of anything or if they're just a group who look out for all of the kind of older, not historical per se, but kind of things they want to preserve. And so I always say there's something for everyone. If you want to listen to what's going on in our city and you don't care about the commission, which some people don't, you only care about money, listen to the finance one. You want to know what's going on, with.
And people can go on the website at citysouthmiami.com,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
It's
and they can watch,
southmiamifl.gov, if I'm not
and
mistaken.
you can watch any of their videos on there, and you can stop and you can listen, and if people want to participate in that, they would need to find one of their commissioners to appoint them to a board, right?
Yep.
And they can be in there and be part of the solution. And even if people have different ideas, that's the point of this, to be able to say,
Absolutely.
that's what you like, this is what somebody else likes. What can we do to make this work?
And I think there's a place at the table for everyone. And people say, oh no, I wouldn't be able to do that. Literally just reach out to your commissioners, because they're always looking for people to get involved. And there's not a person on earth that says, oh, I want to be involved, and hasn't found a place.
So the county commission there are five new commissioners up there, because this is when the term limits went into effect, which actually was passed 10 years ago. All right. So there's going to be a brand new board over there for the county. And South Miami, there are going to be at least two,
At
maybe
least two.
maybe three new people. What a wonderful time for people to get involved. All right. And I hope that whoever they want to be in office, that they get in. All right. But we know it's important for people to volunteer. What was it like when you first said to yourself, I think I'm going to go do that? What was it like internally?
It's a little scary, because I've been involved in so many things in my life, spoken to so many people, but to say I'm going to step into something I kind of know about, because I grew up hearing about building a zone, because my dad did, but I wasn't as in depth as I guess some other people are. Like one of the guys on the planning board, he knows everything. And so it's a little scary, but when you get there, you realize everybody who's on the planning board is just like you. I'm not any different than anybody else. We all came at it wanting to do something for the city, wanting to be involved, and in minor part, wanting your voice heard. And so once you get there, it's not so scary. It's actually a lot of fun.
And when lots of times when people can express themselves to other people that have similar thoughts about expressing themselves, it works out.
It does.
And so part of, I think, what we want as human beings is to say, I want somebody to listen to me. All right. So I'm going to go there, and maybe I can make a difference. And even if you don't get your way, what is it like for you when you're there and you say, this is what I think, and the board rules in a different way? What is that like for you?
It's okay with me. And the reason it's okay with me is it doesn't always have to be one way or the other. A successful board will find something that might not be 100% what I want, might not be 100% what you wanted, but maybe it's 60% of what each of us wanted, because we're listening to each other. We're having a conversation about what direction we're going to take.
And Lisa, when we go in groups, everybody has, ideas, and so often somebody will bring up something that we just never thought about. Right?
Yes.
And when we do things here, there's all a ramification for everything that we do. Right? Which is you do this, it's going to take different people to do it, and it's going to have some effect down the road. And it's
Absolutely.
good to hear, hey, if we do it this way, this is what's going to happen. All right. And the biggest thing that I see in South Miami was the speed bumps, and the traffic circles, and the trees that are there. And the effect was it would not just slow down the traffic, it improved the neighborhood
Absolutely.
tremendously. It allowed people to slow really far down. When people are walking, I see more young kids, parents with their kids on, going with their, what do they call it?
The
Strollers,
strollers.
right? It's like, where did this come from? Because they feel safer, right?
Yep.
Because they know the cars can only go a certain speed or else they're going to have a problem.
Yeah, and we don't have sidewalks everywhere in the city. So I always say something is better than nothing. And for me, when I'm on the bike or on the scooter or even walking, I feel better knowing there's a speed bump somewhere behind me or a circle near me, because I've been on streets like 64th Street, which isn't a city road, it's run by the county. But if the person I was talking to hadn't pulled me, I might have gotten hit by a car. So they're good.
Right. And in the city of South Miami, there are some internationally recognized companies, of course, Bacardi right out of South Miami. All right.
Mhm.
But I don't know if he still owns part of that building, but that's the Winn-Dixie property.
Yes.
And then you have Footworks. They are known throughout the sports world,
Well,
throughout the country, throughout the
Yes,
world.
I didn't know they were that famous.
Yes.
I just go get my sneakers there. And then somebody said to me, you realize that they're like number one of blah, blah, blah. I was like, what?
Yes.
And there's tiny little shop, but everybody there is so nice.
Yeah.
And it's such a great place.
So I think they have 3 5K runs at April, May. All right. 25,000, 30,000. I did that for 10 years. It'd be there, you go there. And it's such unity that occurs there. And then during June, they have one event, all right, and through South Miami. And what wonderful things that people come here to South Miami for. Deli Lane and Sunset Tavern.
Yep.
They've been around for 35 years, all right?
Right?
And taking care of people. Same owners, all right? They are, and people make it part of their ritual. This is where we're going to go. We have the Arts Festival and some other things that are going on there. So lots of good things are happening.
Yeah, and not to leave out Max Cycle. I mean,
Yes.
that's literally
nationally recognized.
where my children got their bicycles.
Then they have bikes from, I don't know if they're any more inexpensive bikes, but they got bikes of all ranges, all right?
I
And
think
if you're
those days are over.
all right, and if you're into racing, that's a good place to go. And if you're a hobbyist or a new person,
Yeah.
that's certainly the way to do that. So here we are. The election's coming up November 8th, all right?
Mhm.
It's right around the corner.
It is.
And you're out campaigning now?
I am. I'm meeting all kinds of special people every day.
So we know therapy is built upon somebody being able to talk and somebody to listen. That's typically what it's after. The person that listens, you never know whether you should say anything or you just listen.
Or you just go,
So when you go out and somebody says, I got to tell you about, and then they tell you if you're lucky.
yes.
So then maybe you can understand where they're coming from and what, if anything, that you can do about it. So I hope that should you get elected, that you listen to people and that people can call you up or email you or any of the other ways that we communicate nowadays and express themselves. And I hope that you listen, and then maybe there's something that you can do to help. Now, we know we have Thanksgiving coming up right after the election.
Yes.
What a great time to continue the turkey giveaway that the city does. All right,
That's true.
it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, and we at some point that it would be good if you could expand that. All right, I don't know quite to where, but make it a little bit more, a little bit bigger,
More
and
turkeys.
more
More
whatever.
turkeys.
Maybe smaller ones. All right. We have just a minute left. I would like you to talk to some young person out there and talk to them about life and the potential for their great future. We're going to look right in this camera right over there.
We're lucky enough to live in a time where anything is possible for anyone. The doors are open for everyone. This is the time to take advantage of every opportunity. You might not make it on the first time or even the second time, but if you are strong, if you are persistent, you will get anywhere you want to go. We're blessed to be in this time.
Wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And folks, thank you for joining us again. You can find all information about the candidate for City of South Miami Commission all over the internet, all over our website. Have a great time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thanks.